Niccolo Machiavelli wrote The Prince not as a book of fantasies, but as a manual for survival and dominance in a brutal world. It is a text born in blood, war, betrayal, and political upheaval. It does not teach morality. It does not teach kindness. It teaches reality. It is a guide for those who wish to rise above the chaos of men, to secure power, and to hold it against enemies who would rather see them destroyed. To understand The Prince, you must abandon illusions about human nature. Machiavelli tells us plainly, men are ungrateful, fickle, deceitful, and greedy. They will love you when it is convenient, but betray you when it serves their interest. They will praise you in good times and abandon you in hard times. If you expect loyalty, you will be disappointed. If you expect gratitude, you will be betrayed. Therefore, the wise ruler does not build on trust, but on fear, strategy, and control. Machiavelli's ruthless honesty is what makes his book timeless. He reminds us that appearances matter more than truth. People judge not by what is real, but by what they see. A prince does not need to be good, but he must appear good. He does not need to be merciful, but he must look merciful. He does not need to be honest, but he must craft the illusion of honesty. In the theater of power, perception is stronger than reality, and those who fail to master this illusion will be torn apart by those who do. One of his most famous lessons is the question, is it better to be loved or feared? His answer is clear, it is best to be both, but if you must choose, it is safer to be feared. Love is weak, it dissolves under pressure. Fear is lasting, for men will betray those they love, but rarely those they fear. Fear binds loyalty more tightly than affection ever could. This is not cruelty for cruelty's sake, but a recognition that survival demands control. Machiavelli teaches that power is not maintained by mercy alone. Mercy without discipline leads to chaos. A ruler who is too kind invites weakness, invites rebellion, and invites disrespect. But cruelty, when applied strategically and decisively, can secure order. A prince must strike quickly, cut deeply, and then stop, so that fear is established, but hatred does not grow without limit. Hatred is dangerous, but respect born of fear is a foundation no enemy can easily shake. Another central theme of The Prince is fortune and virtue. Fortune, Machiavelli says, controls half of our actions, but the other half is in our power. Fortune is like a river that floods and destroys, but the wise man builds dams and channels to direct its flow. Virtue, for Machiavelli, does not mean morality. It means strength, skill, and the courage to act boldly when opportunity presents itself. Fortune favors the bold, not the hesitant. Those who wait for the perfect moment will be destroyed by those who seize the imperfect one with strength. Machiavelli despises weakness. He warns rulers against relying on mercenaries, for hired soldiers fight for money, not for loyalty. They will abandon you in danger. He warns against indecision, for hesitation invites your enemies to strike first. He warns against complacency, for fortune changes rapidly and those who are not prepared will be swept away. The prince must always be alert, always vigilant, always ready to strike when the moment demands. The genius of Machiavelli lies in his ability to strip away the mask of morality and expose the cold mechanics of power. His advice is uncomfortable because it is true. It is not about how the world should be, it is about how the world is. He does not tell you to be good. He tells you to be effective. He does not tell you to seek virtue in the Christian sense. He tells you to seek virtù, the strength to dominate your environment. The lessons of The Prince reach far beyond politics. They apply to business, to leadership, to personal life. Anyone who seeks influence must learn the same principles. Appear virtuous, but act strategically. Inspire fear when necessary. Do not be bound by promises when breaking them. Benefits you. Do not rely on others to fight your battles. Act boldly. Control appearances. Protect yourself from betrayal. Maintain discipline, even when others collapse. Above all, understand that power is never given. It is taken, secured, and defended without apology. In today's world, the lessons of Machiavelli are more relevant than ever. We live in an age where appearances dominate reality, where loyalty is fleeting, and where weakness is exploited. To be Machiavellian is not to be cruel for pleasure, but to recognize that the world is a battlefield. And on that battlefield, kindness without strength is suicide. So what is the essence of The Prince? Never trust the crowd, for they will turn on you. Never rely on love, for it fades. Never hesitate when boldness is required, for hesitation kills. Always control perception, for appearance is stronger than truth. And always act with strategy, for only strategy endures when fortune shifts. Machiavelli's ruthless guide to power is not for those who wish to be liked, but for those who wish to endure. Power is not about smiles, it is about survival. It is not about being good, but about being untouchable. And if you master these lessons, you will not only survive the storm, you will command it. To go deeper into Machiavelli's ruthless wisdom, we must face another uncomfortable truth. Stability is not built on kindness, but on control. A ruler who depends on the goodwill of others builds his house on sand. The winds of fortune will shift, and the loyalty of men will vanish as quickly as it came. Machiavelli teaches that true stability comes from structures of power that do not depend on affection. Armies, laws, fear, and perception are the tools of endurance. Without them, even the most beloved prince will be cast aside the moment the people grow restless. Consider the role of cruelty. To modern ears, cruelty sounds barbaric, but Machiavelli insists that cruelty, when applied correctly, is not only useful but necessary. Cruelty can prevent greater chaos. Imagine a ruler who refuses to punish rebellion out of mercy. That mercy will inspire more rebellion, leading to bloodshed, disorder, and collapse. But if the ruler strikes decisively, punishing harshly and swiftly, order is restored and fewer lives are lost in the long run. The lesson is clear. Cruelty, when executed wisely, is mercy in disguise. Another principle of The Prince is the danger of neutrality. Machiavelli warns that in times of conflict, neutrality is weakness. To stand aside when powers clash is to invite destruction from both sides. A prince must choose allies and enemies with calculation, not sentiment. By taking a side boldly, he wins the loyalty of allies and commands respect even from enemies. By hesitating or remaining neutral, he appears weak, and weakness is the surest path to ruin. Machiavelli also discusses the importance of adaptability. Fortune is ever-changing, and the man who cannot adapt will fall with the changing winds. The fox and the lion are his metaphors. The prince must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. To be only a fox is cowardice. To be only a lion is recklessness. The true ruler blends cunning with strength, deception with power, calculation with boldness. This duality makes him invincible, for he can bend his nature to meet the demands of the moment. One of the darkest lessons Machiavelli teaches is about promises. He states plainly, "A prince should not keep his word when it is no longer in his interest." Men are not bound by morality, so why should the ruler be bound by promises that others will break the first chance they get? A ruler must appear honorable, but he must always reserve the right to betray when betrayal serves survival. To keep promises blindly is to be ruled by others' expectations. To break them wisely is to rule on your own terms. We also find in The Prince a deep understanding of appearances. Machiavelli repeats again and again, "The people judge by appearances, not by truth. They cannot see into your heart. They cannot know your intentions. They judge only what they see." Therefore, the prince must cultivate an image, merciful, faithful, just, generous, even if he is none of these things in private. Appearances deceive, and deception is a weapon more powerful than any sword. The ruler who masters appearances will hold his power longer than the ruler who shows his true nature. Perhaps the most profound lesson of The Prince is this: the pursuit of power is not for the faint of heart. It requires cold calculation, the ability to act against mercy, against faith, against humanity itself when necessity demands it. It does not mean a ruler must always be cruel, always deceptive, always harsh. Rather, he must be ready to be these things when survival requires it. The one who refuses to act ruthlessly when the moment demands will be crushed by those who have no such hesitation. Machiavelli's work is not evil, it is honest. It tells us what others are too afraid to admit. The world is not fair, men are not loyal, and morality collapses in the face of necessity. To survive, to rise, to endure, One must embrace the world as it is, not as we wish it to be. In the end, The Prince is not a book for dreamers, but for realists. It strips away illusions and shows the raw mechanics of power. Those who master its principles will never again be controlled by the fickle love of the people or the empty promises of allies. They will instead command fear, respect, and stability. And in a world that destroys the weak, this is the only path to true security. If the first half of Machiavelli's The Prince strips away illusions about human nature, then the final lessons show us how to play the game of power on the highest level. These are not principles for ordinary men. They are strategies for those who refuse to be pawns. To apply them is to step into the ruthless arena of leadership, where hesitation is death and calculation is survival. One of the most critical lessons Machiavelli offers is about foundations of power. A prince must stand on solid ground, strong institutions, disciplined armies, and loyal supporters. But loyalty must never be trusted blindly. Machiavelli warns that friends in politics are often more dangerous than enemies. Enemies attack openly, but false friends strike in silence. Therefore, the wise ruler tests his allies constantly, rewards the loyal, and discards the treacherous. Trust is given sparingly, never absolutely. This leads us to another lesson: the management of reputation. A prince must be feared enough to command obedience, but not hated enough to inspire rebellion. Hatred is poison, fear is armor. Machiavelli insists that the prince should never seize property or dishonor women, for such actions breed eternal hatred. But cruelty applied for order, discipline, or survival, this is acceptable and even respected. Men will forgive cruelty if it brings stability, but they will never forgive violations of what they hold sacred. Machiavelli also explores the psychology of the people. He understood that the masses are easily swayed by appearances and simple gestures. A prince who stages acts of generosity, who speaks of justice, who shows piety, will win admiration even if his private actions contradict those virtues. This is why appearances matter more than truth. A ruler may be ruthless in secret, but as long as he performs the role of virtue in public, the people will follow him. Leaders today still practice this lesson. Politicians smile, speak of unity and claim morality, while behind closed doors they play by Machiavelli's rules. The lesson is eternal. What people believe is more important than what is real. Another crucial insight is Machiavelli's insistence that fortune favors the bold. He compares fortune to a woman. She is more easily mastered by the daring than by the timid. The man who seizes opportunity, who acts with force and decisiveness, bends fortune to his will. The hesitant man, the cautious man, the man who waits for perfect conditions, is crushed by fortune's storms. In life, as in politics, timidity is death. Those who rise are those who act boldly when others freeze, but boldness must be tempered with calculation. Machiavelli's fox and lion metaphor is more than a clever image. It is a blueprint for survival. The fox is cunning, able to detect traps and avoid danger. The lion is strength, able to crush enemies with force. To rule with only the fox is cowardice. To rule with only the lion is recklessness. But to combine the two is mastery. In every decision, the prince must ask, where must I be cunning and where must I be strong? The ability to shift between these two natures is the mark of a true ruler. Another dark lesson of the prince is the use of deception. Machiavelli does not simply permit lying, he elevates it to an art form. A prince must be a master of deception, promising what he does not intend to deliver, swearing loyalty he plans to break, and hiding his true intentions from both allies and enemies. To modern ears, this sounds immoral, but Machiavelli reminds us, men are deceivers by nature, and the one who refuses to deceive will always fall victim to the deceivers around him. Better to be the spider than the fly. Yet Machiavelli does not glorify endless cruelty. He warns against unnecessary violence, reminding rulers that cruelty must be decisive, not constant. To harm endlessly breeds hatred, and hatred breeds downfall. The ruler who is ruthless at the right moment and merciful at the right moment holds power far longer than the ruler who indulges in cruelty without reason. This balance, Cruelty when necessary, mercy when possible, is the true art of governance. From these lessons emerges a single Machiavellian truth. Power is not moral, it is strategic. The prince who governs by morality alone will be destroyed by those who govern by necessity. The world is not ruled by saints, it is ruled by those who understand necessity and act upon it without hesitation. In the end, Machiavelli leaves us with this reality. It is better to be feared than loved, better to be ruthless than weak, better to be cunning than naive, and better to survive dishonorably than to perish with honor. Power is not about morality, it is about mastery. And those who dare to master it by following Machiavelli's ruthless guide will not only endure, they will dominate. At the end of The Prince, Machiavelli reminds us that power is never permanent. Fortune changes, enemies rise, allies betray, and circumstances shift. The true master of power is not the one who clings desperately to what he has, but the one who adapts without hesitation. The prince must remain flexible, abandoning old strategies when they no longer serve, and embracing new methods when times demand it. Rigidity is death, adaptability is survival. And perhaps this is Machiavelli's greatest gift to us, the understanding that life is not about comfort or fairness, but about constant adjustment. To endure is to adapt. To rise is to see reality as it is, and to move with strength and cunning where others freeze. In this way, The Prince is more than a book of politics. It is a timeless reminder that only those who master themselves and the world around them will command true power.